You ever notice how people beg for signs? Oh, they pray, they plead, they cry out, just give me a sign. But when they get it, when the answer is loud, clear, written all over the walls in big bold letters, oh no, suddenly they don't like that sign. Suddenly it's too hard, too painful, too inconvenient. See, people don't want signs. They want permission. They don't want the truth. Oh, the signs. They were always there, weren't they? Sitting in the corner of your eye, whispering in the back of your head, tapping at your shoulder like a ghost you pretended not to see. But people, oh, people are funny. They don't like seeing what makes them uncomfortable. No, they like their little illusions. They like to wrap themselves up in pretty little lies and call it hope. It's not that bad. Maybe I'm just overthinking. Things will get better, and so they ignore the warnings. They brush off the red flags. They convince themselves that silence is just peace and not the sound of something slowly dying. But the signs, they never really go away. No, they just get louder, a gut feeling, a moment of hesitation, a quiet voice telling you, this isn't right. Oh, but people love to argue with that voice. They tell it to hush, tell it to sit down, tell it they know better. And that's when things start breaking. A crack here, a slip there, a betrayal that was always waiting to happen, a disappointment that wasn't really a surprise, a moment of clarity that shakes you to your core. And you sit there, staring at the mess, pretending you didn't see it coming. But you did, didn't you? You always did. Because the truth doesn't hide. It doesn't play games. It doesn't sneak up on you in the dead of night. No, it was always in plain sight. It was in the way they spoke to you when they thought you weren't paying attention. It was in the way your heart sank every time you had to convince yourself you were happy. It was in the way you kept making excuses, kept lowering your standards, kept waiting for something that was never going to happen. The signs were screaming, but you? Oh, you covered your ears and called it love, called it loyalty, called it patience. And then, when it all falls apart, when the truth comes crashing down, people love to act shocked, love to act like the universe betrayed them, like life played some cruel trick, but the only trick was the one they played on themselves. Because deep down, they knew, they always knew. But knowing the truth and accepting it, oh, those are two very different things. See, people don't avoid the truth because they don't see it. No, they avoid it because they don't like what it means. It means they have to leave. It means they have to change. It means they have to stop pretending, stop hoping, stop believing in something that was never real to begin with. And that's terrifying. People would rather suffer in something familiar than walk away into the unknown. They'd rather convince themselves that misery is normal, that struggle is just part of the process, that if they just hold on a little longer, everything will magically fix itself. But that's not how it works, is it? The signs don't come to torment you. They don't appear to make you suffer. They come to free you. They come to show you the truth, to push you towards something better, to wake you up from the dream you've been desperately clinging to. But most people, they don't wake up. They fight it. They dig their heels in. They close their eyes. They hold on to the very thing that's hurting them and beg for it to stay. And when life finally takes it away, when the choice is no longer theirs, they don't say thank you. No, They cry, they rage, they ask, why me? But the real question is, why did I ignore it for so long? People love to hold on, don't they? Oh, they cling to things like their lives depend on it, gripping so tight their knuckles turn white, their fingers bleed, their arms shake. And for what? For a past that's already slipping through their fingers? For something that's been gone longer than they care to admit? They tell themselves if they just hold on a little longer, if they just try a little harder, if they just love a little more, maybe, just maybe, it'll all come back. But the joke is that holding on doesn't keep things in place. It just makes the fall hurt that much more when life finally pries your fingers loose. People think they have a choice. They think if they resist hard enough, they can stop the inevitable. But life has a funny way of showing them otherwise. It starts small, a little crack in the foundation, a quiet moment where things don't feel the same, a shift in the air, too subtle for most to notice, but it's there. And then, little by little, the distance grows, the silences stretch longer, the smiles feel forced, the words sound empty. But do they leave? Do they walk away? No, they stay. They fight. They convince themselves that if they just ignore the cracks, the whole thing won't come crashing down. But it always does, because you can't force something that's already dead to keep breathing. You can't hold together something that's been unraveling for years. And the best part is watching people pretend, watching them play their little roles, wearing their little masks, convincing themselves that everything is fine. But deep down, deep down, they know. They feel it. They've known for a long time. They just don't want to face it. People will go to war with reality before they let go of something they've outgrown. They'll twist themselves into knots. They'll break their own hearts. They'll trade their happiness just to keep something that was never meant to last. And for what? For a memory? For a version of something that doesn't even exist anymore? But they'll tell themselves it's worth it. They'll say they're being strong, being loyal, being patient. Say they won't admit the truth. They won't admit that they're just afraid. Afraid of what comes next. Afraid of what they'll be without it. Afraid that if they let go, if they walk away, they'll have nothing left. But the thing about life is that it doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't care how much time you've invested, how much you've sacrificed, how badly you want things to stay the same. When it's time for something to end, it ends, whether you like it or not, and the longer you fight it, the more it hurts. The more you resist, the more it breaks you. And in the end, you don't get to keep what you were so desperate to hold on to. No, you just end up tired, empty, worn down from the battle you were never meant to win. But here's the real joke. The real joke is that once it's gone, once the dust settles, once you finally let go, you see it. You see what life was trying to do all along. You see how heavy it was, how much it was dragging you down, how much better you feel without it, and you laugh. You laugh at yourself, at the wasted time, at the sleepless nights, at the way you begged for something that was never meant to stay. But by then by then it's too late to get that time back. Too late to undo the damage of holding on too long. Because the truth is, nothing you hold on to out of fear will ever bring you peace. But most people don't learn that until they've lost everything trying to prove otherwise. Comfort. Now that's a funny thing. People treat it like it's the goal, like it's the prize at the end of the race. Work hard, struggle, suffer, and if you're lucky, you get to be comfortable. You get your little routine, your safe little bubble, your predictable little life where nothing changes, nothing surprises you, nothing threatens the way things are, and you sit there, smiling, convincing yourself that this is what happiness feels like. But deep down, oh, deep down, you know something's wrong. Because comfort is just a beautifully decorated cage, a prison dressed up to look like paradise. The walls may be soft, the floor may be warm, but a cage is still a cage. And the longer you stay inside, the smaller it gets. The air gets thinner, the space gets tighter, and before you know it, you're trapped. Not by chains, not by force, but by your own fear of what's outside. The unknown, the chaos, the risk, the things that make you feel alive. The things that remind you that you're still breathing, still moving, still capable of something more. But people don't want more. Oh no, they want safe. They want easy. They want familiar. So they sit in their cages, telling themselves they're happy, telling themselves they don't want anything else, telling themselves that this is enough. And maybe for a while they believe it. Maybe they even convince themselves it's true. But then something happens. A moment. A whisper, a crack in the illusion, a quiet voice in the back of their mind saying, this isn't it. This isn't where you're supposed to be. And suddenly the walls don't feel so soft anymore. Suddenly the space feels smaller than before. Suddenly the thought of staying in that same place forever, doing the same things, seeing the same faces, living the same day over and over again, feels like a slow death. But here's the real joke. The real joke is that they could leave anytime they want. The door? Oh, the door isn't locked. It never was. They could walk away. They could step into something new. They could chase the things they really want. But do they? No. No, they stay. They tell themselves it's too late, that they've already come too far, that starting over is too risky. And so, they sit back down. They take a deep breath. They tell themselves to be grateful. They ignore the way their heart aches for more, the way their soul screams at them to move. They tell themselves that's just life, that this is how it's supposed to be. And when they see someone else leave, when they watch someone else walk out of their own cage, when they see someone risk it all for something better, oh, they have a lot to say. They're reckless, they're foolish, they're making a mistake, because that's what people do when they see someone doing what they're too afraid to do. They call them crazy, they laugh, they criticize, but deep down, oh, deep down, they wish they had the courage to do the same. They wish they had the strength to leave, to start over, to step into the unknown without looking back. But instead, they stay, and so they shrink. They get smaller and smaller, quieter and quieter, until there's nothing left of them but a shadow of who they used to be. And when someone asks them, "Are you happy?" oh, they smile. They nod. They say, "Of course." Because what else are they supposed to say? That they gave up? That they settled? That they traded their dreams for a life that doesn't even feel like theirs anymore? No, they won't say that. They'll just sit there in their comfortable little cages, looking out at the world they were too afraid to claim. And the best part is that they'll spend the rest of their lives convincing themselves they made the right choice, that comfort was worth it, that safety was enough, that the cage wasn't really a cage at all, and maybe, just maybe, they'll believe it. People love to fight change. Oh, they fight it with everything they've got. They dig in their heels, grip the past with bleeding fingers, scream at the sky, not yet, I'm not ready. As if life cares. As if life waits for anyone. They think if they just resist hard enough, if they just ignore the cracks forming under their feet, maybe, just maybe, they can stop the inevitable. But change doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't care if you're ready. It shows up uninvited, kicks down the door, and says, time's up. But people, oh, they don't like that. They take it personally, like life is out to get them. They cry about how unfair it is, how everything was fine just the way it was, but was it? Was it really fine? Or did they just get comfortable? Did they just settle into a routine, memorizing every step, every word, every predictable little moment until they could live their life with their eyes closed? And then when something comes along to shake them awake, they panic? They act like it's some cruel punishment, when really, it's the best thing that could happen to them. Because nothing grows without change. Nothing becomes more by staying the same. But people would rather rot in something familiar than risk stepping into something unknown. They'd rather hold on to things that hurt them, that drain them, that make them miserable, just because they're afraid of what comes next. And so they resist, they fight, they refuse to let go, even when their hands are covered in splinters from holding on too tight. And here's where it gets really funny. The more they resist, the more it hurts. The more they fight it, the more painful it becomes. It's like trying to hold back the tide with their bare hands. The harder they push, the stronger it pushes back. And when it finally knocks them over, when it finally tears them away from what they thought they couldn't live without, they lie there, broken and bruised, wondering why it all had to hurt so much. But it didn't have to. It never had to. If only they had let go when they were supposed to. If only they had trusted that maybe, just maybe, life knew better than they did. See, life isn't cruel. It's not some villain lurking in the shadows waiting to ruin everything. No. Life is just trying to move you forward, trying to take you where you're supposed to be, trying to show you that what you're clinging to isn't for you anymore. But most people don't see it that way. They see it as loss, as suffering, as a punishment. They cry over the things they had to leave behind, not realizing they were only carrying dead weight. And oh, the excuses they come up with. It's too hard. I'm not ready. What if I fail? But the real question is, what if they don't? What if everything they've ever wanted is waiting for them on the other side of change? What if the very thing they're afraid of is the thing that will set them free? But no, they'd rather not think about that. They'd rather stay where they are, even if it's killing them, even if every part of them is screaming to move. And then, when they finally give in, when they finally let go, when they finally step into whatever life had been pushing them toward all along, they laugh. Oh, they laugh at themselves. at how long they fought it, at how much time they wasted being afraid, because suddenly everything makes sense. Suddenly they see why it had to happen, why life had to rip them away from what they thought they needed, and they realize it was never about taking something away. It was about making space for something better, something bigger, something they never could have reached if they had stayed where they were. But by then the fight is over. By then the pain is just a memory. And all that's left is the realization that the thing they were so afraid of, the thing they spent so long running from, it was the best thing that ever happened to them. People love to talk about trust. Oh, they throw that word around like it's sacred, like it means something unbreakable. Trust me. I would never lie to you. I'm always here for you. Sounds nice, doesn't it? So neat, so simple, so easy to believe. But trust? Trust isn't words. No, words are cheap. Words are masks people wear when they want something from you. Trust? Oh, trust is what's left after the words have been tested, after the masks crack, after the truth crawls out from underneath all those pretty little lies. And that's when people start to squirm. That's when they get uncomfortable. Because the truth, the truth doesn't play nice. The truth ruins the illusion. See, trust isn't built when everything is perfect, when the sun is shining and everybody's smiling. No, trust is built in the storm. It's built when things fall apart, when the pressure's on, when choices have to be made. That's when you see people for who they really are. Not when things are easy, but when they have a reason to lie, a reason to betray you, a reason to turn their back. That's when you learn who they really are. And most of the time, you don't like what you see. Because people will swear up and down that they'd never hurt you, that they'd never leave, that they'd never change. But the moment life tests them, the moment the stakes get high, the moment doing right by you means losing something for themselves, that's when the real them shows up. And it's funny, isn't it? How quickly people change when they have something to gain. How fast they disappear when standing by you becomes inconvenient. How easily they forget all those promises when it no longer benefits them to keep them. And then there you are, standing in the wreckage, wondering how you didn't see it coming. But deep down, you did. Oh, you saw the signs. You saw the hesitation in their voice, the way their eyes darted away, the way their smile didn't quite reach their eyes. You felt it in your gut in those quiet moments when something just didn't add up. But you ignored it, didn't you? You told yourself you were overthinking. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. Because that's what good people do, right? They believe. They trust. They hope. But the problem with giving people the benefit of the doubt, it's that they'll take it. They'll take it and run with it, right up until the moment you realize that doubt was never supposed to be there in the first place. And when they finally show their true colors, when the betrayal finally hits, people love to act surprised. Love to act like it came out of nowhere, but it didn't, did it? No, it was always there, waiting. You just didn't want to see it. Because seeing it would mean accepting that you were wrong about them, and people hate that. Oh, they hate admitting they were wrong. They hate admitting that they put their trust in the wrong hands. So instead, they make excuses. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe if I give them another chance. And that's the real trick, isn't it? That's how people end up being hurt over and over again. Not because the betrayal was a surprise, but because they refused to believe it the first time. And the people who hurt you, they count on that. They count on your kindness, your hope, your unwillingness to walk away. They count on the fact that you'd rather suffer in confusion than accept the cold, hard truth. That trust, it wasn't broken in one moment, no. It was cracking all along. You just didn't want to see it. And when you finally do, when you finally wake up, when you finally stop making excuses, that's when everything changes. That's when you realize that trust isn't just about believing in people. No, trust is also about knowing when to stop believing, when to walk away, when to finally accept that some people, they were never worthy of it to begin with. People think they know what pain is. They think it's just the big things. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the loss, the moments that knock the wind out of you, leave you gasping, crawling, barely holding on. But real pain? Oh, real pain is much quieter. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It creeps in slow, settles in your bones, makes a home in your soul. It's waking up every morning knowing something isn't right, but not knowing what. It's looking in the mirror and seeing a stranger staring back. It's the slow realization that somewhere along the way you lost yourself, and you don't even remember when it happened. People don't notice that kind of pain. They don't ask about it, don't talk about it, don't even want to acknowledge it, because it's not dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't fit into a nice little story with a clear beginning and end. No, this kind of pain is different. It lingers, it festers, it makes a home in the empty spaces, the silences, the moments in between. And the worst part, most people don't even realize they're feeling it until it's too late. Until they wake up one day and wonder how they got here. Until they look around and realize they've been living a life that doesn't even feel like theirs anymore. Oh, and they try to fix it, of course they do. They distract themselves. They fill the silence with noise. They chase money, status, attention, anything to drown out that voice in the back of their head that keeps asking, is this really it? Is this all there is? And for a while, it works. For a while, they convince themselves they're fine. They laugh at the right moments, say all the right things, wear all the right masks. But when the lights go out, when the distractions fade, when they're left alone with nothing but their own thoughts, that's when the truth comes crawling back. That's when they realize they've been running in circles, trying to escape something that was never outside of them to begin with. And the funniest part? The funniest part is that most of them will keep running. They'll keep pretending, keep distracting, keep searching for something, someone, anything to make the feeling go away. Because facing it? Facing it would mean admitting that the life they've built, the choices they've made, the people they've surrounded themselves with, none of it was ever really for them. It was for the image, for the illusion, for the approval of people who don't even know who they really are. And once you see that, once you really see it, there's no going back. Because that's when the real pain starts. The kind that doesn't come from what others have done to you, but from what you've done to yourself. The years you wasted, the dreams you buried, the moments you let slip away while you were too busy chasing things that never really mattered. And that kind of pain, oh, that's the kind that stays with you. The kind that doesn't heal with time. Because time doesn't bring back the days you lost. It doesn't bring back the version of you that you abandoned just to fit in, to be accepted, to feel safe. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people, they'll do anything to avoid that moment. They'll run, hide, lie to themselves, do whatever it takes to keep the illusion going for just a little bit longer. Because if they stop, if they really stop, they'll have to face the truth. And the truth is, they've been living someone else's life. They've been playing a role they don't even remember auditioning for. And once they see that, once they really see it, they'll have two choices: stay asleep or wake up, keep pretending or finally take back what's theirs. And most people, most people will stay asleep. Because waking up means burning it all down and starting over. And not everyone has the stomach for that. People walk around like time owes them something. Like there's a deal they signed at birth that guarantees them another day, another year, another chance to do all the things they keep putting off. They wake up, go through the motions, tell themselves, I'll start tomorrow, like tomorrow is some loyal dog that'll always come when they call. They live like they're untouchable, like they've cracked the code, like the clock isn't ticking down with every breath they take. But time? Oh, time isn't some generous old man handing out second chances. Time is a thief, a quiet, ruthless thief that doesn't ask, doesn't warn, doesn't negotiate. It just takes. And the funniest part? People don't even notice. They don't realize how much they've lost until they look back and see the wreckage, the dreams they never chased, the words they never said, the risks they never took. They let time slip through their fingers, and then one day, they wake up and wonder where it all went. But by then it's too late. See, time doesn't do refunds. It doesn't hand back the years you wasted being afraid, being lazy, being comfortable. No, once it's gone, it's gone. And yet people still act like they've got forever. Oh, they make plans. They love making plans. One day, I'll leave this job. One day, I'll tell them how I really feel. One day, I'll start living the way I want to. But one day is just a fancy way of saying never. It's the lie people tell themselves so they can sleep at night, so they don't have to face the truth. And the truth is deep down they know. They know they're wasting time. They know they're making excuses. But change is scary. It's easier to pretend there's always another chance, always another tomorrow, always more time, until there isn't. People love to act like they're in control, like they get to decide when their time is up. They walk around as if life can't touch them, as if tragedy has a schedule and they're not on it. But life doesn't work that way. Life doesn't care about your plans. Life doesn't care about your plans. Life doesn't wait until you're ready. It can take everything from you in the blink of an eye, and it won't apologize. 1 second, you're here, making excuses, wasting time, and the next, well, let's just say not everybody gets a warning. Some people don't get to say goodbye. Some people don't get a second chance. Some people wake up thinking they've got forever, and by nightfall, they're just a memory. But still, people hesitate. Still, they waste their days doing things they hate, with people they don't even like, waiting for some magical moment when everything will just change on its own. But nothing changes on its own. Time doesn't fix things. It doesn't heal wounds. It doesn't open doors. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It just keeps moving, keeps ticking, keeps slipping away while you stand there thinking you've got more of it, thinking that the universe will give you a sign when it's time to start living. But what if the sign was the fact that you're still here? What if the sign was every second that passes, reminding you that time is running out? And then one day it hits them. They look in the mirror and see a stranger staring back. They realize they've spent years, decades playing it safe, following the rules, waiting for a future that never came. And suddenly they get it. Suddenly they see the joke. The joke is that there was never enough time. The joke is that every moment they wasted was a moment they never get back. And by the time they understand that, by the time they finally wake up, most of their time is already gone. People have this funny little habit. They think they know who's real and who's fake. Oh, they love to talk about loyalty, about trust, about how they only keep real ones around. But let's be honest, most people wouldn't know a real one if they were staring them in the face. See, people aren't honest, not with themselves, not with others. They don't want the truth, they want comfort. They don't want loyalty, they want convenience. They don't want real, they want whatever plays along with their little fantasy. Oh, but they'll swear up and down that they value honesty, that they want people who keep it real. But tell me something, what happens when you actually do? What happens when you look them in the eye and say something they don't want to hear? That's when the game changes. That's when you see the cracks in their little illusion. Because people don't want the truth. No, they want validation. They want you to tell them they're right, that they're good, that they're special. And the second you don't, the second you show them the mirror and they don't like what they see, that's when you become the villain. That's when suddenly you're toxic, you're negative, you're the problem. It's a sick little game, isn't it? They say they want real, but what they really want is control. They want people who agree with them, who follow their script, who don't challenge the version of reality they've built for themselves. And when you stop playing along, when you stop nodding and smiling and telling them what they want to hear, that's when they turn on you. That's when the whispers start. That's when they start saying you've changed, that you're not the same person they knew. But the truth? Oh, the truth is you didn't change. You just stopped pretending. And nothing scares people more than someone who stops pretending. Oh, but here's where it gets funny. See, they never see themselves as the problem. No, it's always you. It's always your fault. You're too much, you're too honest, you expect too much. They act like you asking for basic respect is some kind of crime, like you holding them accountable is an attack. Because deep down, they know. They know they're not as real as they claim to be. They know they don't live up to the standards they set for everyone else. But instead of facing that, instead of growing, instead of being better, they'd rather just cut you off, label you the enemy, and go back to their little bubble where nothing is ever their fault. And people wonder why they keep getting betrayed, why they keep ending up surrounded by fakes. It's simple. You attract what you tolerate. If you let people disrespect you once, they'll do it again. If you let people lie to you, they'll keep lying. And if you keep pretending that you don't see the red flags, then don't be surprised when you get hurt. But people don't like that answer. No, they'd rather blame fate, blame bad luck, blame anything except themselves. They don't want to admit that they let the wrong people stay too long, that they ignored their instincts, that they saw the warning signs but looked away because they didn't want to be alone. Because, oh, that's the real fear, isn't it? It's not losing people. It's facing the silence they leave behind. But here's the thing. Silence isn't the enemy. Loneliness isn't the enemy. The real enemy? Oh, it's settling. It's lowering your standards just to keep people around. It's letting people walk all over you just so you don't have to sit at an empty table. But let me tell you something. An empty table is better than one full of snakes. Peace is better than company that drains you. And being alone? Oh, being alone is better than being surrounded by people who don't really see you, don't really respect you, don't really care. But most people don't learn that until it's too late, until they've been used up, worn down, torn apart by the very people they swore were real, until they wake up one day and realize they were never really loved, they were just convenient. And the saddest part, most of them will go right back to it. Right back to the same fake smiles, the same empty conversations, the same cycle of pretending. Because breaking free, that takes strength. That takes the kind of honesty most people just aren't ready for. People love to act like they know who they are, like they've got it all figured out, like they're in control. But ask them one simple question: who are you really? And watch how quickly the cracks start to show. Watch how they hesitate, fumble for an answer, give you some rehearsed little speech about their job, their hobbies, their achievements. But that's not who they are. That's just the costume they wear, the mask they've built over the years, piece by piece, shaped by expectations, by fear, by the need to fit in. Because the truth is, most people don't know who they are. They only know who they were told to be. Oh, but they'll never admit that. No, they'll swear up and down that they're authentic, that they're real, that they make their own choices. But look a little closer, listen a little harder, and you'll hear it. The echoes of a lifetime spent following orders, the voice in the back of their head that isn't even theirs, the rules they never questioned, the beliefs they never challenged, the path they never strayed from. And why? Because it's easier that way. It's easier to let the world decide for you, to let society, family, friends, whoever hand you a script and say, here, this is who you are. It's easy, safe, comfortable. And comfort? Oh, comfort is the biggest lie of all. See, people think comfort means happiness. They think if they just follow the plan, if they just do what they're supposed to, they'll find peace. But peace doesn't come from following the rules. It doesn't come from blending in, from making everyone else happy while you slowly disappear. No, real peace comes from knowing yourself so well that nothing shakes you. It comes from standing in a room full of people and not needing their approval. It comes from looking in the mirror and not seeing a stranger staring back. But most people will never get there because most people are too afraid to break the illusion. Oh, they feel it, that little itch, that whisper in the back of their mind telling them something isn't right. They feel the weight of the mask, the pressure of living a life that doesn't really belong to them. But instead of facing it, they bury it. They drown it in distractions, in mindless entertainment, in anything that keeps them from having to sit alone with themselves. Because deep down, they know. They know that if they ever stopped running, if they ever truly looked at themselves without all the noise, they wouldn't like what they see. They'd see the choices they didn't make, the dreams they abandoned, the version of themselves they locked away just to be accepted. And that's the real tragedy, isn't it? Not that people get lost, but that most of them never even try to find their way back. They just keep playing their part, keep pretending, keep convincing themselves that this is enough, that this is who they were meant to be, until one day they wake up and realize they don't even recognize their own reflection. And by then it's too late. Because once you spend long enough pretending, the line between the mask and the face starts to blur. And eventually you forget who you were before the world told you who to be. But here's the catch. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's gonna pull you aside one day and hand you back the life you lost. If you want it, you have to take it. You have to be willing to break yourself open, to strip away everything that isn't really you, to face the ugly parts, the painful parts, the parts you tried to forget. You have to be willing to destroy the lie you built just to uncover the truth underneath. And most people, don't have the stomach for that, because it's hard, messy, uncomfortable, and the saddest part, most people would rather live a lie than go through the pain of becoming real.